Now, I'm going to switch over to the psychoanalytical lens. Now, what this is in literature is it interprets the text by applying theories of the unconscious mind, focusing on characters' hidden desires, fears, repressed memories, and motivations. So if you've studied Freud, you can apply anything Freud said to your characters or any other. I didn't study psychology, so I can't tell you.
If you were like, that person's got mommy issues, right? Like there you go.
Exactly.
Anything that you would take to a therapist.
Yeah, basically. You get to be a pretend therapist.
Yeah.
Which we have done in every season. So we're just now putting a name to it.
Yep.
Now, the psychoanalytical lens is important for analyzing trauma and guilt in literature, and boy, is there trauma and guilt in Silver Flames. So let's start with the fact that Nesta punishes herself. Quote, some days when she'd climbed into the icy water of her bath, not feeling its bite, but that of the cauldron's dark depths as it devoured her whole, as it ripped away her humanity, her mortality, and made her into this. This was hinted at in Wings and Ruin, but what we learn for sure now is the fact that Nesta can't take baths without remembering her trauma of being in the cauldron and fighting for her life. What message this sends to us as readers is that Nesta devalues herself. And if you don't believe me, we're going to continue to see instances of this where Nesta truly doesn't think very highly of herself. For example, when she remembers Papa Archeron and his sacrifice at the hands of the king of Hybern, Nesta thinks of him as, or his sacrifice as a waste. And that is because she herself is a waste. Her father is, quote, the man who had never fought for his children, not until the end. When he had come to save them, his daughters, her, a grand, stupid waste. This is followed up with, quote, every damning thing Rhysand thought about Nesta was true, and she'd known it long before he had ever shadowed her doorstep. This is so illuminating from the lens of character motivations. Nesta and Rhysand hate each other in most of their interactions, and this tells us that is because Nesta knows he knows her truth, that she, in her words, is a waste. She's a terrible person.
I love the Nesta Rhys dynamic in this book because people walked away. I think part of the reason why people have issues with this book is because of how poor of a light it shines on Rhys. And they're like, he completely changed. Like, he's such an asshole. Like, this isn't right. I think Nesta sees Rhys in a way that, of course, Farah doesn't see Rhys.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of sucks. Don't you want a morally gray guy? Like, there you go. He's morally gray. But this going on this whole, like, everything that Rhys thought about her was true and she'd known it. Like, that's such a clue that if she hates someone, then it probably reflects something about her. She hates her father. That's because her and her father are the same person. The reason why she hates her dad is the reason why she hates herself. He never stepped up. They're mirrors to one another. And basically, Nesta and her father share the same story of someone who came up short and is too little too late.
Mm-hmm.
When her dad shows up, yes, he shows up with an army and it's in time to help with the army. But on the emotional side of things with his daughters, for Nesta at least, it was too little too late.
It's pretty clear now, early on, Nesta doesn't feel like she has a lot of control of herself, her thoughts, what's happened to her throughout her life, where she is right now, her identity. So what does she need? She needs something to control. And that is her door with 4 locks. Quote, locking them each night was practically a ritual. Even when the nameless male had been here, even out of her mind on wine, she'd remembered to lock them all, as if that would keep the monsters of this world at bay. Obviously, a locked door is not going to keep the trauma away from Nesta. It's not going to change anything that's happened to her. But it is the only thing that she can physically touch for which she feels some control, which sadly means there is no control, right?
Yeah.
And that is also reflected in the consequences of her actions and the fact, more than that she cannot think about the consequences of her actions. Quote, she hadn't been able to save the 1,000 Illyrians who had fallen in the moment after she'd summoned Cassian to safety during the final battle in Wings and Ruin. She turned away from that memory too.
So I want to go back to the whole described as a ritual aspect and the fact that, when you say ritual, I think religious, which then made me go, all right, let's bust out the religious lens then, shall we? Which essentially treats belief systems as forces that shape meaning and control. So, like her trauma and control creates a religion itself and it shapes meaning and control of her life. So, if the trauma is control and her ritual is control, she is giving praise to her own religion of trauma.